Hello, my darlings.
Hi.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Hi.
Hello, hello.
All right. So we have a guest that's going to be joining us tonight.
Wonderful.
I know. I'm very excited. All right. I'm trying to set this up so you'll be able to see both of us. He's just outside getting us some fresh air because he's a Kabbalist and that's what they do. Can you see us? He's going to be sitting here, obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah, we should be able to.
All right. Maybe I'll put it back just a little further. That should be able to accommodate both of us. Okay. He's nervous. He says, I don't know what to talk about. I said, we'll just talk about stuff.
Go with the flow.
Exactly. So,
Hello.
ladies and gentlemen, this is my dear friend Shalom.
Hi. Nice
Hello.
to meet you guys.
So Shalom and I met in late 2007, early 2008, when I started going to the Kabbalah Center in Los Angeles. And he was one of the teacher and one of the staff there. And my teacher was, I think he's like your business partner. David? Anyway, Shalom and David were the big deal at the center. And at one point, David said, let's book a trip to Israel. And I was like, okay. And I'm like an organizer, so I organized this trip. And we take this trip to Israel, and Shalom is Israeli. He just flew in last night from Israel, and he's here for the ordinations. And please raise your hand if you're coming into town for the ordinations. Okay, so Nadia and Linda will be here. Carol's already ordained. Rob is already ordained. Rob, will you stop by and say hello?
Yes, I'm going to. Absolutely.
Perfect.
That's Sunday, right? Sunday?
Nope, it's Saturday from noon to 5.
Yeah, so then Saturday afternoon.
Listen, Norbert's looking for the link, and I can't get out of here to get him the link. It's just /Zoom.
I'm sorry?
Can you get Norbert the link?
Sure, I'll send it to him right now.
Thanks, so. So on the very first day, Shalom takes us to the Mount of Olives. And would you explain what the Mount of Olives is?
So, I don't know if you're familiar with Jerusalem. The Mount of Olives is right across from where was the temple. So, it's on the same place. And on that mountain, that's where they used to bury all the high priests and all the elevated souls. So that mountain is full with like elevated souls during history.
And they're called the
Righteous Tzaddikim.
The Tzaddikim.
Yes.
And his gravestone of the being we were led to was probably the size of this table, right? The blue part?
Yes.
And then the white part was like, so I'm at least 50 pounds heavier than I am now. Fat, miserable. This was 2009, 15 years ago. And you had to, as women, like you had to wear skirts and you had to be dressed, and it was 113 degrees. And I'm just like, I'm the last person off the bus and I'm cursing under my breath. I'm like the opposite of a Kabbalist. I'm like this whiny fat girl from New York, right? So, and you can't step on the graves, and the space between the graves are this big, but my shoe is this big. So I'm like, trying to make my way through everything. And Shalom's over here and he's got this book open and you're reading this book. And I see everybody touching this grave and closing their eyes. And I'm like, what the heck? So I come and I put my hands on this grave, and I'm telling you that the color of the grave is like the blue of this bottle, right?
Mm-hmm. Light blue.
Light blue. And Shalom's sitting there reading about the guy in the grave. All I know is that he's called the Rashash. Mm-hmm. And this golden shaft of light comes and comes down on me like a scene from Star Trek, like the transporter. And the guy in the grave starts talking to me, and I'm thinking to myself, I've never taken drugs. This can't be like some PTSD flashback or something. And he says to me telepathically, welcome home, beloved. Your father is waiting for you. And I think to myself, father, in my head. And he says, Abraham. And I go, Abraham? And he says, you know him as Avram. And Avram is a being that I have seen in my meditations for years, who takes me to a stone pyramid that's in somewhere in the Riviera, the Mayan Riviera, somewhere in South America, and he would unroll these scrolls
Not
of
South America.
somewhere in South America. He would unroll these huge scrolls of light, and light language would come off of the scrolls, and they would either go into my crown or into my third eye. And I never told anyone about this because these are my like meditations, and people are going to think like I'm a freak, right? So Shalom's reading, and I'm having this crazy conversation, and all of a sudden it switches to the scene where I see this huge throne, and Jesus is sitting on the throne. And on one side, there's a row of tzaddikim, and on the other side, there's a row of angels. And David and Shalom, my two teachers, are standing in front of this throne of Jesus. And Jesus says the word decree. And in that moment, I'm told that what was decreed was that David and Shalom were coming to earth to carry on the work that Yeshua had started, which was, to bring souls to, I don't know, how would you describe it?
I don't know, because I never felt like that. So
Anyway,
you will describe it.
so, it's like how I continue his work, his good work, which is to help people remember their relationship with God, to help people remember their own divinity, which is the work that you do.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Trying to do.
so at this moment, there's a girl on the trip. She's a friend of mine, Jenna. Jenna takes a picture, and the picture happens to be Shalom reading the book, the gravestone, and me with my hands looking like I'm in a trance. Like you can't make this shit up. Like that's what it looked like, right? She took this picture, and I said to her later, what made you take that picture? And she said, you looked beatific, like you were in an altered state. And I'm like, I was. So I walked down the hill, I'm crying. And Shalom looks at me and he goes, why are you crying? And I'm like, I just had this conversation with the dead guy in the grave, and I saw this vision of you. And David comes over to me and he goes, I want you to talk to Peggy. Peggy Romero.
Romito.
Peggy Romito, who's a very, very famous psychic. And he says, I want you to go talk to Peggy. So we get back on the bus, and Peggy says, Lynn, I had the same vision. Did you know that? She had the same vision of the
She told us later.
So anyway, as I go to get on the bus, I say to Shalom, by the way, what was the name of the guy whose grave I touched? And I remember you dropped your head and you said, the Rabbi Shalom Sharabi. And I went, hold on a second. That's your name. Shalom Sharabi. And I'm like, are you related to him? And you said, yes, many generations back. So look, I'm not naming names, but someone may or may not be a reincarnation of that soul. Anyway, so literally like a few weeks ago, Shalom reaches out to me, and he reaches out on WhatsApp and he says, hi, Lynn, it's Shalom Sharabi. And like, I've had his number, for 15 years on my phone. And he had left the center. He had moved back to Israel with his family. I knew his wife, his beautiful wife, and 3 amazing children. And I was like, oh my God, Shalom. I said, you have no idea how many times I tell the story of what happened in Israel, and how special you are to me, and things like that. And he said, I saw a video of you channeling, and you said that I was so pure, and that he could tell that my heart was real. And I'm crying as I'm reading this. And we just kept talking. And then it just made sense. And I said, listen, because I was told, invite him to the Melchizedek ordinations. So I said, we have these ordinations happening at my home. You have to understand, he lives in Israel, right? I said, we have these ordinations that are happening at my home in New York. Would you? And you had said, I think we should meet. And I'm like, oh my God, I would love that. So he flew in for the ordinations, and we're visiting, and we're just having the time of our lives. And I was like, oh my God, would you come please be on the podcast? And then tomorrow he's going to actually come and talk to my students. So I just want to say a hi to a couple of people that I saw came on here. Hi, Norbert. Hi, Susan. Hi, Hillary. Hi, Jenny. Hi, Michelle. Welcome, everyone. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is my precious, precious friend, someone of my heart and of my soul, Shalom Aon Sharabi. And not to put you on the spot, but tell them everything you know. Would you?
You already did. Well, so I was asking Lynn, what's going to be? What does it mean, a podcast? I've never been in one. So this is my first time. So forgive me if I'm not clear, or if you have anything, or you want me to stop, or my accent is not clear.
You're fine.
Everybody
loves your accent. You sound like, does anybody watch The Chosen? Okay. Do you know Simon Peter? They're both Israeli. He sounds like him, right? Please. Everybody's in love with your accent. It's okay.
Okay. So what do I need to speak about? Please tell me.
Look, okay. So so first of all, our podcast is called Jesus Christ, Not Another Fucking Podcast, right? But here's the thing that I love about Shalom. Like, Shalom understands that Jesus was a Jew, right? Right? His mother was obviously a Jew.
By coincidence.
By coincidence. Now, in Kabbalah, Billy, and I think the Rav would talk about that Jesus was a Kabbalist. They called him one of the greatest Kabbalists. So could you talk a little bit about that, and why would you agree with that?
Okay, so first of all, it's not something that I agree personally just for myself. It's all the teachings of Kabbalah comes from the book of the Zohar. And as time came, and the Israelites has to leave the temple. The second temple was destroyed, and a division started to happen among the people. So until that point, most of people, they call them Tanaim. There was a reason why they called them like that, because those people had the ability to do things above nature. You know how they say that Jesus was able to walk above water and all the stuff.
Turn water into wine.
The loaves
and the fishes.
Yeah, so they could control the physical matter. So Jesus was one of few people like that in that generation. They didn't have iPhones. They didn't have podcasts. They had, the only thing they had is the connection with themselves and the purification of the self to elevate themselves for that higher level. I think that what was hard for people to accept Jesus in that time, based on what we read and based on what we know, is that he broke the rules.
Oh yeah.
Okay?
Oh yeah.
So he broke the rules by saying that there's no rules, by saying that the only rule is unconditional love. The only rules is not about walking on water, because everybody else could do that as well. So it's almost like being one of the magicians. And that wasn't the purpose of his soul. So I think what aggravated everybody in all sides is the fact that he took the control from the temple. Back then, what happened with the priests and the temple, they start changing, and they start being more attached to money. You probably remember the story when Jesus is turning the desk
of the money changes.
All the money changes and all the stuff, because he had to change it to the coin of the temple. But really what he was doing, he stopped the, like castas of the Indians. So he stopped having those rich, poor. There was a lot of division among the people.
You mean the castes?
The castes, yeah.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
Yeah. So, until that moment, they had the Isaiahs, they had the Tzdukim, that was the rich people. There was the one that served in the temple. So there was less purity, because that temple was supposed to be light for all the world. So the Israelites' purpose was to be light, and they had the Ark of the Covenant, and they had all these amazing divine tools that radiates vibration, high vibration of energy. But the only condition was that those tools will be used only in the hands of pure people. And when the Romans came and surrounded the walls, and this is the time of Jesus as well, and the reason why they wanted to destroy the temple was because of hatred for no reason that happened among the people. This is something we're experiencing nowadays, like a lesson that we haven't learned. And Jesus was a complete, pure, unconditional. He was not belong to any caste. He was not belong to any group. He was basically told everybody that they are God. And he destroyed the hierarchy that was there, and the hierarchy that would allow them to control the people. So most of money was donated to the temple by tithing. You probably know the concept of tithing. That comes already from Judaism before. Charity, it's called tzedakah. And those rich people, those who control the temple, those who were close to the Romans, they wanted their control. So when the Romans surrounded the walls, I don't know if you know that, the story is that the Romans destroyed the temple in Jerusalem. But the fights among the groups inside was worse than what the Romans did to them.
Mm.
So when they broke in, there was already, they said some places blood to the knees,
Wow.
people killed each other, they burned the storages of food, and nobody could handle the fact that there was no method to what Jesus was offering, because it was free. He basically connected everybody to their birthright, the divine spark that we all basically made when we came to this world. We are part of the divine. So that destroyed the illusion of separation. And the illusion of separation, that what allows any government or any group or any even spiritual or religion to control people is by creating an illusion of separation and enhancing that illusion.
Like one is holier than another.
One is holier than another. And if you come from a certain background, you're not holy enough. So back in those days, the head sage of all the sages had to be, for example, rich. There was a reason to that, so-called, that he cannot be bribed, but that was one of the reasons why poor people couldn't be elevated according to their systems. So the first temple, by the way, I don't know if you know that, the first temple 400 years before and the second temple were destroyed on the same day.
Tisha B'Av.
The 9th of Av. It was actually 2 weeks ago. It's always in the month of Leo. It's the 9th day of the month of Leo, according to the lunar calendar. And we know that history repeats itself. And we are in a time that history really repeats itself, because we are either building the third temple, but it's not going to be a physical temple. It's going to be an internal temple.
Right.
It says in the Bible that you will build me a temple and I will dwell within you. So basically that the temple is only in the heart, is not in the buildings and not in the structures. And that's what Jesus was serving them. He said, listen, we're going back to the heart. But that destroyed their power. And so the first temple and the second temple were destroyed because of hatred for no reason. The Romans had no problem with the Jews, by the way. They used to light candles of Shabbat, a lot of them, even in Rome. They used to make sacrifices in the temple. They realized that this is a spiritual source. So they never had any issues. And when the issues started to happen is, and this is a very powerful concept that goes in my heart for years, is when there is a division among the people, then the parasites come in. It means that the enemy, the external enemy, never comes unless there is a division among the people. Even if you see today what happens in Israel, it started with a division among the people. So the war never starts with an outside enemy. There's no enemies.
It always starts with them.
It always starts within. It's like the immune system. When you are in conflict with yourself, your immune system goes down, and then the parasites and the viruses and the issues and the ripple effects of that thing. And I think that what bothered them the most about Jesus, they thought they could stop him by either killing him or outcast him. But what they did is something even greater, because they created even bigger movement by doing that, because you can destroy the heart.
Right.
And I don't know what more I can add, but this is what I know from all the teachings that I went through, from all the things that I went through in my personal life. From, I served in the Israeli army, so I know how it works. You can never kill an enemy, because when there's a revenge, you always dig two graves, and limitations and separations. And I know we're in the age of every person is trying to reach out. I know the concepts of 5 dimensions, and we're going to the 4 dimension, the 4 density. But in the end of the day, to overcome what we're going through now, the reason to elevate is only for the sake of elevating everybody with us. And I think that's what Hoshea, Yoshua, Jesus, that's what he came to this world to explain us, that in the end of the day, the illusion of separation and the lack of unity
is what's going to destroy us.
It's what destroys ourselves and the world that we're living in.
Rob, I took him down to the property that our families used to own, the Pauldings, and I took him over to Condor Hall, and the street that's just after Lloyd Harbor, we went down to where there's that little area where you can look out really clearly. And we were having a conversation about what's to come, and kind of like, if there's another big reset that's coming, then what are we all doing? And I think that we both agreed that we're here to remind people to turn within and to turn to their own hearts. There isn't an answer that's outside of any of us. Jesus always said that, you know, the temple is within. And that's where we're headed with all of this, you know?
Absolutely, absolutely. And welcome, Shalom. Beautiful, beautiful explanation and breakdown for us. Thank you. Thank you for joining us on your first podcast. Mr.
Rob,
Sullivan,
can
it's
you-
just a conversation.
Rob, you got to move your, like, we're missing most of you. There you go. Thank you.
I'll shift over. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Free camera tonight.
We want to see all of your beauty.
Oh, okay. All right then. So welcome, welcome. I do have one question for you. When you talked about 2,000 years ago in Jerusalem at the temple, and the Romans were there and they surrounded it, is it accurate history that the Ark of the Covenant was even there at that point, or had it already been relocated, absorbed into the energy?
I'll tell you something. What you heard about things relocating is replicas.
Okay.
The Ark of the Covenant is buried 70 feet under till today.
Really?
And the memory to take it out is based on our unity and love we have in our heart, because that will eliminate a lot of the problems. There's no machine in the world that can resonate so much energy as this.
Oh, I agree. I agree. Absolutely.
When we were there, there's a place where you come to that wall where you go down those stairs, and there's this energy there, and all I can tell you is it was like wah, wah,
The
wah.
cornerstone.
It's so, like, I get goosebumps just thinking about it.
I was there last week.
Ugh.
My kids started to cry, and they're little kids, you know, they feel.
How old are they?
My daughter is 11, my son is 8, and my little one is almost 4 in a few days, in a week.
How amazing that at that age they get to go there. So when I was there in 2009, we sat there, and Shalom was always saying to me, "Why are you crying?" And I just was having all these crazy past life memories. So we're literally there outside the Wailing Wall, and understand the wall there was not the wall of the temple. It's one of the protection walls. The temple itself was decimated. But all of a sudden, God, Yeshua, whoever was talking to me and said, what I did, why the temple was able to be destroyed was I took out the Shekinah, which is like the mortar, the divine feminine. And without the Shekinah, the temple could crumble. The masculine are like the bricks, and the Shekinah is like the mortar. And you have to have both together. You can't just have a wall of mortar. You can't just have a wall of bricks. You have to have both together. And he said, and now is the time that we're putting it all back together, like the divine feminine is coming back together so that we can rebuild the temple. But it has to be built from within. And I told Shalom that I had this dream where I was told that the letter that I resonate with is the letter Yud. No, Vav. Sorry, Vav. Guys, excuse me. Off an alarm. Ooh, I got to turn this off permanently. Keeps going off. But the letter Vav. And David had told us in one of the classes that I took with him is that the holy name of God, the Yud, the Hey, the Vav, and the Hey, that the Vav is what is missing. And that myself and other beings, I'm not going to say that I'm a righteous soul or you're a righteous soul, but I know that we're here to do the good work, is to help to
We are
bring.
work in progress.
We are definitely works. I'm a work in progress for sure. But we are a work in progress. And that to bring the Vav back, to make the whole tetragrammaton whole again, is the work that we have to do of bringing our hearts back. Would you agree with that? Like we have to, so I know that my purpose here, and I know that this man's purpose here, is to help people to remember that we have hearts, that each of us have hearts, that we're just here to love each other, you know. And I have my moments of driving down the road being like, this motherfucker, like I forget, you know, like I have my very human moments. I'm like, how dare you cut me off, right? And meanwhile, I've cut somebody else off. I'm picking him up at the airport last night, and they're like, move along, move along. I'm waiting. I just know he's coming. I know he's coming. And they're like, move along. And you had to circle back. And all of a sudden there's this huge line of traffic. And I'm like, oh my God, why did I get out of line? And I'm trying to get over to Terminal 4 to pick him up at the LL terminal. And this lady's not letting me in. And I'm like, let me in. You don't understand. Let me in. begging this woman, cursing at this woman. And Jesus is like cracking up. He's like, you're missing the point. you're missing the point, you know? A very human moment. A very human moment. So one of the things that Rob does is Rob is a channel through automatic writing. And in the time that he started doing this work, which was January 2019, he was trained by my friend Wendy, whom you'll meet tomorrow in the class with the students. So Rob was given this homework assignment to write a message for everybody in the class. I think there were 9 of you in the class. And he opened up the gift of channeling. So there's probably 50 different ascended masters that he's channeled over the years, and with well over 1,000 messages. So my love, do you have anything special to bring
Yes,
to us this evening?
absolutely. I am prepared.
We
am-
are excited.
Okay.
And by the way, we drove by your house as I drove it down to Condor Hall, and I'm like, you see this all these buildings? This is Rob's property.
You should have called. I was home all day working outside.
Aw,
Normally my morning starts off, early in the morning before the sun comes up. I do a brief meditation, and then once I'm in that vibration, okay, let's look within and see who's there. So this one starts, dear spirit, please tell me what it is I need to know. Oh, dearest being of light, we welcome you home to your birth in the stars. You and all are timeless. Your origin is the heavens. Your origin is the stars. You are not from here. As so much is inquired of, and so much is peeled back, the truth begins to unfold. So much of your world is just a construct, just so that you can have the experience. Just as you have said in the previous meeting, all is an experience to be had and not the finality of this endeavor. Just give me a moment to get a glass of water, a bottle of water.
I was just saying to Shalom, this is kind of like a party. You just bring your friends together and you talk about stuff, and there's a little channeling and there's a little reading.
That's it.
People that you love, He's like, what's a podcast? And I'm like, you'll see.
It's just a meeting on, it's just everybody's still home. That's all. Okay. All is an experience to be had and not the finality of this endeavor. We were just talking about that, right? Each of you is simply having the human experience. Each of you is a God, an angel, an ascended being at one level or another. So love one another with all of your heart and take care of each other as things begin to shift into high gear. Your world is safe. Your climate is shifting. And so should the inhabitants. Much water is to fall, and great are the changes to the earth's surface. So be prepared for what flows at you, and only respond when truly needed. This all has to play out to its completion. So be not concerned, but only prepared. Travel will be limited in many places upon your world, and your connections may be lost to certain areas and aspects of your civilization. It is all part of the plan. In order to start anew, you sometimes have to clear the slate. Mind you, not all is lost. It is a selective game of choice. What does not serve is to be discarded, and room is to be made for new and better forms of sustenance, existence, and cohabitation with the animals of the planet. I said, why this message today? Because you asked. Then I asked, who's with me now? Legions of light are at your service, so be not concerned, but only excited for the reunion of souls that is set to occur. We thank you for your efforts, and we bid farewell. Namaste.
Is that not the conversation we had today? Rob, you don't understand. This is literally the conversation that we had by the water today. Isn't that crazy?
And I was thinking about it after.
Yeah.
Thank you, by the way, Rob.
Thank you, babe. That was beautiful. The legions of light.
My pleasure.
I
Yeah, you
can't wait.
never know who's gonna come in. I had to ask because I gotten through all that and I still didn't know who it was. I had to ask. Sometimes you know what I'm saying? And you or the cadence or the vibration, the pattern. When Hathor comes in, I know it's Hathor. There's a way the words, I hear them. Yeah, so this was interesting. It wasn't what I expected, but because I left the door open and I said, what do I need to know? That was it. Now, in talking about water and relocating, it's not to scare anyone. I'm not going to set prophecy about what's safe and what's not, but simple things in all messages. If you live in an area that's flooding very easily all the time, Charleston, New Orleans, Miami, South Beach, right? Places like that, when you know there's subsidence, the ground is going down, it's time to move away from there. That's all. There are places where the earth is rising. In Indonesia, you have islands being formed. So that's probably a safe place to go because there's new land emerging from the ocean. You follow what I'm saying? It's not about everybody moving away from the water. I saw something the other day. Now, they've been telling us for our whole life about sea level rising, and it's rising, and it's rising, and it's rising. And I grew up in Massapequa. That's on the shore. We're on an island right now. Nothing has shifted. Nothing has sank in my lifetime, right? We talked about Plymouth Rock being, right, that famous rock from 400 years ago. Plymouth Rock is still in the exact same spot. It's not underwater. It's still barely covered by the tide unless there's a storm. So not everything is going down. Not everything is coming up. So not to be afraid in the message. Be prepared. Be prepared for storms. Have batteries. Have extra food. Stuff like that. Anything you would have for hurricane season. That's all. That's all these messages are about. Not doom and gloom and, the sky is falling stuff. So I just want to, be clear on that. I don't ever want anybody to run off and, go out and buy MREs and stuff. You know what I mean? Unless you like them. I'm just good with a lot of beef jerky and, some canned beans, the good stuff,
Shalom was having a conversation with me about why you eat some foods and why you don't eat some foods. And that when you eat foods that are closer to human, it keeps the frequency lower. And when you eat foods that are farther away from human, it helps to elevate the frequency. And we were talking about, like I said, have you ever eaten human flesh? And he's like, no, I would never, unless it was already dead. And I said, you mean like human jerky? So,
it was a joke. It was a joke.
It was a joke. It was a joke.
Don't get scared.
I'm happy. Hey,
we have dark humor.
I think everybody's seen that movie Alive, right?
Yeah.
When you're out of luck, I mean, that's it.
Exactly.
It was
We're
frozen.
not eating.
It was flash frozen. It was all right. Hey, they made it. Right?
Exactly.
It's just a meat suit. The soul is eternal.
Exactly. Right. Yep.
That's
Can
it.
is something that when you spoke about your what you channeled, just my last thing for today.
Please.
I don't know if you know that, but the 5 Book of Moses, people think it's a stories, but it's a code. It's a 600,000 letters. Specifically, every column starts the parchment with the letter Vav that she was speaking about. Vav there's 10 dimensions. So we have the upper 3, the 6 in the middle are the Vav, and that's the funnel for the physical reality we're living in. And there were times of decrees. I don't know if you read the story about Moses when the Creator says after the golden calf, the sin of the golden calf, I will destroy everybody. So Moses does something that no one did until that time in humanity. He says, you know what? If you erase the Israelites, erase me from your book. Kill me as well. I don't want to be in a world that when the Creator is cruel.
Wow.
And it says in the Zohar that even if there's a decree, and we channel the decree, and everybody channel the decree that there's something bad is about to happen, it can be canceled by the global consciousness. And I'll share with you what it means. For example, you know how they say that if you have a positive mantra, you have positive emotions about it, and then you can manifest more, and your vibration will grow, and you can attract money. But it's the same thing with humanity. The more we believe in Armageddon, we're creating the narrative because we are co-creator of this reality.
Because we're focusing on fears and whatever it is.
It's almost like when you have a gun, when you own a gun, you're probably going to use it. So
Absolutely. What you fear, you bring near.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So I do feel that the narrative is, it says in the Zohar about 4 types of people. There's the people of justice. It's called them the destroyers of the world. The people of peace, in the name of peace, they destroyers of the world, and the people of truth, in the name of truth. And the only one that is the builders is the people of mercy. That no matter what, we give someone the benefit of the doubt, remembering that he is us and we are him, and remembering that no one does anything to me. We are part of the same original soul that came and split it to all this divided souls that we all in humanity. And me personally, on my biggest wish is that we all going to convert, including myself, by the way, to be mercy. I do treatments with people. It's something that's called dimensional therapy, and I'm working with this force. It's called the Shekhinah. You probably heard about it, the feminine energy. That's the healing force that we all have within ourselves. And I noticed that, every time that I'm dealing with a patient and I'm about to discharge their negative emotions and sensories and beliefs and commands they gave to themselves because of trauma or pain, what makes the treatments better is if I talk, and when I pray, I say, mercy on this human beings. The fact that he was hurt by someone else when he was 5, he doesn't need to pay for it for the rest of his life. Help to discharge him from his pain, because it's not his fault. He was innocent. And I think what we do usually when someone does bad to us, he's a bad person. When we're doing it is unintentional, I meant well. And I think that I noticed that with human beings, when I'm on the place of mercy and I ask for mercy, then the person his healing is faster. Even one time, sometimes people can get rid of traumas and horrible abuse when they were kids. And most of us are just programs. The Zohar calls us, when we are not aware, monkeys. We're not intending to hurt anyone. We are just a program that is going to bump into something in the end. And the only way to come out of this program is to become mercy toward ourselves, by the way, number one,
mercy,
with the shame
mercy
and guilt,
forgiveness.
Mercy and forgiveness.
That's beautiful.
That's my last words for today.
No, it's not. He thinks it's his last words. It's not his last words. Thank you. That's beautiful.
That's fun, by the way, guys. It's my really nice experience.
Lynn,
yes.
Last week's message, one of the messages I read, talked about the basis for a change of energy in ascension was forgiveness. Remember, I asked about how a tree becomes petrified.
Yes.
And they said it will happen, the conversion from carbon to crystal is through the art or act of forgiveness, which raises the vibration. And by raising the vibration, we ascend.
Right.
So very interesting that it segued from last week to this week along with today's message. So this is it. We're building upon it one week after another.
It's interesting in our class last week, Jesus. So there are 8 ascended beings that Wendy and I channel in this program that we have that's called the Pathway of the Initiate. And we have these 18 students that join us. And then 5 ended up leaving because of other commitments. And 13 people have hung out. So it's me and Wendy and these 13 students. And for some reason, Jesus kind of burst on the scene in class last week and channeled this message through me. And there's a girl in our class, her name is Linda, and she types up the notes every week of what it was channeled. And I read the message that came in from him, and I was like, he brought the smack down. And people are like, they think that Jesus is all love and light and all that. And I'm like, you understand, he comes in and he kicks my ass all the time. And like he's like, look, you know, if you're going to do this, you got to walk the talk. You know, it can't be like, oh, I channel this one thing, but I live this other way. You know, it's not like I'm doing bad things with my life, but he's like, if you're doing this, you gotta go all in. You gotta, you know, read the books and then
six 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 six.
Huh.
Six 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 six.
okay. Hey Rob, unmute yourself again, love.
Huh.
That was
Oops.
Norbert.
Wow.
Norbert? I don't know what happened.
All right. Comment.
So if you, the number 6 is Vav. All right. Well, that's about the number of Vav, about the letter Vav. That's right. Aleph, Bet, Gimel, Dalet, Hey Vav. Okay.
We're gonna swear, water. This is not the page, you know. We're gonna use those words that have been banned from the Bible.
So
It's all
the
an
thing is-
experience. It's all an experience. What is it? What's the proper term for using words? Frequency distortion. That's it. It's just a way to communicate. I'm sorry, Water was not happy with our swearing. So
what's right?
I don't know. I guess you swore. She said no swearing, Lynn. So I don't know. We're not about being right. We're just about having fun.
Did you miss the name of the podcast, Susan?
I'm sorry. I didn't hear you.
I said, did she miss the name? Anyway.
I don't know. It's all right. Let's keep going. I'm sorry. So
I'm doing, you know, like every time I say to Yeshua, you know, I'm doing the best I can. He's like, no, you're not. You can definitely do more. You know, none of us get off easy. Everyone's like, oh, I want to channel Yeshua. And I'm like, no, you don't. It's so funny. Modi, we have this friend named Modi. He's just become a very famous comedian. We knew him in the center. And Modi says this thing. He goes, you know, everyone's like, oh, become a born again Christian. Oh, you know, become a Mormon, do this, do that. And when people say I want to become a Jew, they're like, no, you don't. no, you
Too many
don't.
restrictions.
Too much. Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Look, all of this stuff. Just recognize your divinity, like he said earlier. Recognize your divinity. All these cultures, aspects, language, religions, it's all nonsense. We're just here playing the game. None of it means anything. None of it means anything anymore. We're at the end. This is the transition. You can drop the identification and just own your divinity. You're a divine being of light, here in a meat suit, having the human experience. You can say what you want. You can feel what you want. You can do anything. As long as you're benevolent, you don't go after anybody. You don't do anything wrong to another. You're good.
Or to yourself.
Service to others. Service to others and yourself. Right?
Exactly.
Putting yourself first. Putting that oxygen mask on, like they say on the plane, right? You got to be in good shape before you can help anybody else. And that's it. So we have all these modalities to cleanse and clear and heal, and you can use them. And you need to use them. Otherwise, it gets bumpy, right? So we cleanse and we clear. We have these procedures, like we go into the Akash, right, Lynn? And you do an Akashic record clearing, and you go in. Or what Rob is, Shalom is saying, I'm sorry, what is the name of the technique that you're referring to?
The technique you practice?
It's called dimensional therapy. It's based on these and methods and Kabbalah. And you know, something you said a second ago, is there something I want to share about Jews and not Jews and all this nonsense? That was man-made, but really the word Jew comes from the word Judeans, people that live in Judea. It's an area around Jerusalem. That's all the tribes, one of the 12 children of Jacob.
Sure.
But Jacob was considered to be Israel because Abraham was right column, mercy, love, and Isaac was receiving the energy, drawing the energy. So you have to draw it. No, you have to draw energy and then share it.
Left column?
Yeah, so there's like an electrical, like a light bulb, you know, you have the filament, the reception, and you have the plus and the minus to create circuitry. So an Israelite is someone that is living by the 3-column system. There's no conversion for it. It's not a religion. And if you notice, all religion, the main 3 religions and the monotheist religions all came from Abraham, you know. Ishmael was his son, who is the father of Islam. That is right column, by the way, mercy and sharing and love. Left column was Christianity, and central column was Yaakov, that what came after to become what we call Judaism. But originally there was no Judaism. There was no conversion processes. There was no temples. There was no synagogues. There was no churches. There was nothing like that. There was just the individual based on his own merit and elevated place that he can connect with all that is, basically. I am, it's all that is.
That's right. The whole thing fell apart when we started to look outside of ourselves for the connection and the guidance, right? We're coming back to this place of remembering who you are and that you can talk via your pineal gland to the all that is, to the ethers, to your angels, saints, guides, legions of light, anybody you want. It's all there. And when you ask, they give you the answer. So you can ask about everything. What do I do today? What's this? You know, any advice you want, you can ask your higher self or Jesus or Hathor or Moses. They're all there. They're all there. And that's what this whole great awakening is about. Just start asking. Inquiry is the switch. Silence is the key. Simple meditation. It doesn't have to be hours and hours, and it doesn't. It can be 5 minutes. Just breathe, relax, shut off the human network, and let everything start to flow. It's that simple, everybody.
When we were doing the Way of Master materials, we met every day for 3 years. And at one point in the 35 lessons that we went through, Jesus said, give me 5 minutes every hour. All I'm asking, it's like when Planner was saying, just a can a week. That's always asked. Just give us a can a week. Jesus is like, could you just 5 minutes every hour? I'm not asking you to spend hours and hours. Could you give me 5 minutes? I'm like, oh, I remember setting my alarm to be able to give him 5 minutes. And I had such a struggle with it. I'm like, but you understand, I have to pay this bill. I have to talk to this person. I have to do this thing. I have to run this errand. And he's like, can you just give me 5 minutes? 60 minutes. Could you give me 5 minutes? And I can't say that I succeeded at it, but I'll tell you, when I did it, it was extraordinary to just be and to feel so connected to him in that way. It's really, really remarkable. Like, could you give yourself 5 minutes to just experience love? Because when you connect to him and like he pulls you out of your mind and just you're there in your heart, just like with him for a moment. He loves to give this homework. He goes, imagine I'm standing before you. He goes, put your right hand on my heart, and I'm going to put my right hand on your heart. And he goes, and take your left hand and put it behind my neck, and I'm going to take my left hand and put it behind yours. And he goes, come be forehead to forehead with me and breathe with me. And he goes, take 10 breaths in. And he goes, as you breathe in, I'm going to breathe out. And as you breathe out, I'm going to breathe in. And it's just these 10 breaths with him. And he said, do that with me in the morning. And when I take the time to do that, like, I just feel like I'm filled with the love of God. It's such a simple, beautiful exercise to do. You know, it's something he gave me years ago. And I have a group of us and we put these little X's, you know, every day when we've done this breathing with him. And it's, you know, it's just to have that moment of that conscious contact with something that's outside of the mind, that's outside of the humanity, to just go, oh, wow. Yeah, that's right. There's more to me than the nonsense. Really beautiful.
Absolutely. Does anybody have anything they want to ask tonight before we
The very learned being.
okay.
It's sweet.
Tess, yeah,
loving,
nice.
fun,
Okay.
very funny. I don't know if you realize that. He's very funny. Rob, you'll see when you get to meet him.
Okay, I look forward to it.
Anybody have any questions that they would like to ask? Rob, I can't get to the, I don't know if there's anything in the chat, but
No, I don't see anybody, no hands are up. I'm looking. I don't see anybody asking any questions. So,
I'm looking. I have stuff there.
oh, okay, Water, let's take a look. Let's see. I'm looking in the chat. Okay, you are one of the stepping stones, but this is for, okay, Shalom. You are one of the stepping stones, but a rabbi I listened to was just saying the big goal is to make everywhere a holy land. Israel is just a tiny beginning. Okay, so
Then I have a question.
please elaborate so that
I could just tell you the question.
Yes, please say it out loud.
I wanted to know more about the God of Israel. I'm listening to Rabbi Singer, just found him yesterday. And so I'm going like, what about these gods now? I got more gods to deal with. So Jesus, he cleared me about Jesus and the mistakes. And so now I'm on the God of Israel and Judaism. So I want somebody to tell me about the God of Israel and compare it to the God of the Christians. There's some kind of error going on. So I just need to have a constant reminder of what's the problem, so I can switch to the God of Israel.
I have no idea what you're
getting that?
asking.
Shalom, yeah, because to me, and what just, why are we trying to divide gods? This is oneness. This whole point is to go back to oneness. There is one energy, one source, that collective consciousness that Shalom was talking about earlier, that Schumann resonance, is all oneness. So I'm not, are you understanding the question? Because I must be missing something.
Well, how about just the piece God, Rabbi Singer is saying, get into the God of Israel.
That's his
Does that resonate? What do you think this is about?
God of Israel. All right.
So I don't know Rabbi Singer, and I don't know what exactly he said, but what I understand from you. So let me explain it in this way. There's one source, there's one energy, there's one spark, that we are all part of that spark. I don't think personally, I really battle a lot, and I went everywhere just to understand it with myself. There's no gods for the Hebrew, and there's no gods for the Christians. There's no division. There's one source. What we call different gods is different channels to receive that energy that people either created themselves, or really those channels came from different places, different dimensions, different realities, because we are all mixed DNA with those entities and energies and high-level entities and high-level beings that we're all part of. And if you notice, if you go to Peru, for example, and you spend time with the shamans, they have different way to elevations and different way to reveal light. If you go to India, I don't know if you've been there, but they have another method that was channeled through them. And
yeah,
what's amazing, so I don't think that one is different than the other. I think they were giving different gifts to help humanity to elevate. So when you look at the shamans in Peru, in the Amazonas, you could see how they're protectors of nature and how they communicate with nature and how they find God through nature. When you go to India, you can see how they find God through meditations and through the silence. And when you go to China, so I think that in many ways that humanity receives so many gifts, and each one of them is a specific, unique wisdom that all of them is about to bring us closer to our best version of ourselves and to eliminate the space between us and others. And today with communications and internet, we have the merit to learn from everyone. To get to our destination is that there's no separation, no different gods. There's no, really what the monotheist religions brought, that there's one God. Islam, there's one God. Christianity, there's one God. So in the end of the day, through Abraham, through the channel Abraham, by the way, they call him Abraham the Hebrew, but for you to understand what it means, I shared it today. Hebrew it means for the other side. Abraham was the first human being documented that decided to move to the other side. So the Hebrew letters means the other side. So the other side means that there was no separation. There was no statues anymore. There's no bowing to different gods. There's no bowing to the Anunnakis or whatever it is that came to control humanity. He crossed that bridge and decided that he's going to connect directly with source energy. And I think that's our gift in our times. And I know I'm from Israel, by the way. If you knew how many rabbis and how they fight with one another, who is better and who knows how better to connect to God, you will be in shock. So I do my best now after being, and I'm a semi-ordained rabbi, we'll call it, and I do my best to get away from any division that either this rabbi is better than the other one and this one is better than the other one, because this is not the purpose of life, not from my point of view, not from my experiences. But you can learn a lot from Rabbi Singers if you're going to learn what you connect with, what your heart connects with. So I don't think anyone has and not even me and not even anyone here, we are not representing of God, and we don't really understand fully. We only get the sparks of the sparks of the sparks of what it calls the source energy. And I don't know if it helps with what you asked, because I just shared what I feel.
I hear where you're coming from. Yeah, I've studied all the religions. I'm also a literary artist, so I can analyze literature. So I've been interested in these scholars who can look at the Bible and look at the corrupted parts and then compare it to the Torah, which is the more pure version. So I'm being led to get to the more pure version of the Torah, and I get into these rabbis. And then this one rabbi is telling me, get on the floor and bow and redeem your sins for, well, I don't know if he uses the word sin, because I don't think the old Torah talks about that. There's things the old Torah seems better to me. So I'm being led towards something more pure, with more light, with more clarity. I like proof. And the Jews are all about, we got to prove these sentences we're saying. So I feel much clearer.
And I'm going to stop you for a minute. I got a message from Jesus, and he says, stop reading anything anymore and just go within and start talking to him.
Well, I've already done all that for 40 years. And so I got the voice of God coming right through. But people on the planet follow texts. They follow leaders. And so I'm trying to go towards the ones that help me get more clear and have a better day, have more fun. I'm more clear. I feel better.
Stop. There you go. Going outside of yourself, Water. You're trying to find a leader when it's already inside of you. None of this text, nothing is going to bring you those true answers except asking.
I know all about it. I've written like you, Robert, for a long. I have thousands of pages. So now I'm looking for people. I'm just being alone and doing it all myself. I don't like it. So I'm in the group thing now. I'm in the people thing. Who else can resonate? Who else can sing a song that I can resonate with? I don't want it all me. It's tiring.
No, I understand that completely. It's not about me. This is a group thing. So from what Lynn is saying, Jesus is coming and saying, stop reading that. What I kept hearing was stay out of rabbit holes, because they're just rabbit holes. So, I mean, we're here to do what you want, have the experience, do what makes you smile. But they're rabbit holes, in my opinion. You're gonna have to go to another one, and you're still never gonna find it, because it's all inside.
I just go to all of them. 40 years I've been going to all of them. So
okay. Listen, guys, we're out of time.
Run it down. Yep.
So
thank you,
Jenny. Thank you, Susan. Jenny, what's your question? You're muted.
Jenny. I'm mute.
Yep. Hey guys, sorry. And it can wait till next week. I was going to ask about more understanding of the higher self versus soul. So I'll save it for next week. No worries.
Hey, you want to give a comment on higher self versus soul?
Sure. We have
2 minutes.
So next time.
All right, it'll be
Yeah.
next time.
Shalom, come back.
Can
All
you
right,
hear
well, now
me?
you've planted the seed for next week. There you go.
Can you hear me?
Absolutely, Norbert. Thank you.
Okay, I just wanted to say, we spoke about the forgiveness, and I just wanted to say a little prayer here. Father, we call on the law of forgiveness for any mistakes we have ever done, whether we know of them or not, and to forgive all human mistakes and annihilate their cause and effect from mankind and the earth forever. Amen.
Thank you, my love. Very,
Thank
very
you,
good.
Norbert. Perfect, perfect.
Rob Scarpa.
Yes, dear. We'll see
We're
you
gonna
all
be-
next week.
Yeah, we're around. We're around for the next couple days, and then we'll see you on Saturday for the
Okay.
ordination.
I'll touch base with you tomorrow.
Bye.
Thank you,
Thank
everyone.
you.
Thank you.
I'm
so
off.
Take care.
I'm
Thank
off
you.
to
Thank
Terminal
you.
4 at JFK, Lynn.
You're off
Mike.
to
See
what?
ya.
To Terminal 4.
Oh, babe. Good luck with that.
I'll see you Friday.
Take
Looking
care,
forward
everybody.
Deborah.
So long, everyone.
Carol,
Goodbye.
bye, Jen,
Thank you.
Bye.
being here. Bye, everybody.